Welcome back to Grasping the Gridiron. As always, I'm your host, Zach Thumley, and thank you for listening. Today, we'll look at week 6 in college football. We'll go around the country and then look at what's happening in the Northwest. Taking a look around the country, we'll start here with a couple Friday games. So, New Mexico visits San Jose State. That's 3-1 New Mexico and 1-3 San Jose State. This is a Mountain West clash. Both teams, trying to build momentum in separate ways. San Jose State just trying to even things out, and New Mexico trying to continue their early success with Jason Eck. The Spartans have one of the best passing attacks in the country behind Walker Eget. He's thrown for just under 1,200 yards with 1,191. And their offense has struggled just in the red zone and on the ground as well, rushing for 102 yards a game. And San Jose State's defense has been vulnerable as well, allowing 277 yards a game against the pass. And with New Mexico, though, they're a really balanced team with Jack Lane, who was Jason Eck's starter at Idaho last year. He's been efficient with Scott Trey Humphrey, who was a transfer from Montana State. Two FCS players that are doing well here in the FBS, and the Lobos defense has been solid against the run. And the Lobos, the way Jason Eck tries to play is to control the time of possession, and they also want to be very disciplined, and that's manifested this year. And they rank one of the least penalized teams in the FBS, and I think that gives them an edge, especially when they're at home. And this one on the road, though, but still in a terrible environment on the road in terms of getting yelled at and getting a bunch of nonsense from the fans. That discipline will really come in handy. And the thing with this game is going to be the turnover battle. Both teams have issues with turnovers. But New Mexico comes off of a rivalry win over New Mexico State last week, and San Jose State had a close loss to Stanford. So this will be an interesting game to see how Jason Eck comes out and how San Jose State responds. Looking at our next game, our next Friday night game, we've got number 23 BYU, who's 4-0. They host West Virginia, who's 2-3 in Provo. Like I said, a Friday night game, and BYU, the Cougars have really been dominant on both sides of the ball. They have a run-heavy offense, averaging over 250 rushing yards a game. And they've got a defense as well that's really solid, that ranks top 10 in yards and points allowed. So that's really something to build on for BYU going forward, and something that they'll look to lean on here at home with a home environment against West Virginia. And so the quarterback for the Cougars, Bear Bachmeier, has been really solid with 6 touchdowns and no interceptions to start. And running back L.J. Martin's been solid on the ground as well. And West Virginia is a run team as well. They average 216 yards per game, but their passing game is not that great, and they're one of the worst teams in the nation on third down. So it'll be interesting to see how BYU's ball control and discipline factors into this one at home, where West Virginia has sort of struggled in that regard. Interesting stat here: the Mountaineers boast a perfect red zone conversion rate, so they'll need to have some of that magic continue here in Provo, because BYU is going to be a stout team defensively, and they've been playing well in close game situations. So the Mountaineers are gonna have to bring their A game in Provo. Taking a look at our Saturday games across the country, we'll start out number 3 Miami, who's 4-0, visits number 18 Florida State, who's 3-1. It's the first time since 2016 that both programs meet as ranked teams. Florida State is coming off of a really crazy double overtime loss to Virginia, and they'll look to bounce back. That was an insane game where the Virginia fans stormed the field in a unique fashion at the end, and just one of those peak moments in college football. The Seminoles are led by one of the top nation's top rushing attacks here, with Gavin Sawchuk and Tommy Castellanos. They really have just been solid in terms of keeping the main thing, and not allowing teams to get them off position on the line of scrimmage, and being able to run the ball both inside and outside. But this will be a challenge this week because Miami boasts a top 10 run defense. And so that'll be an interesting clash of styles there in Florida in prime time on Saturday. And then next we've got number 10 Alabama. They host number 16 Vanderbilt. Alabama's 3-1 and Vanderbilt's 5-0. This is a matchup that is really, really going to be loaded with storylines, especially after Vanderbilt upset Alabama last year in Nashville, and that was right after Alabama beat Georgia. And now we have a game in a unique or similar circumstances where Alabama just beat Georgia, and now it's sort of a rematch of fates, if you will, and Alabama's trying to right that ship this time. But I think it'll be really fun to see how Diego Pavia plays in that game, and how Vanderbilt's ground game it can fare against Alabama, because Alabama's got a really, really solid defense this year, and then on offense for Alabama they've got Ty Simpson, who's been absolutely electric. He's completed 82% of his passes with 9 touchdowns and no picks in the last 3 games for the Crimson Tide. So this will be a showdown that really is about 2 of the SEC's top quarterbacks in Diego Pavia and Ty Simpson. And Vanderbilt got the ground game going against Alabama last year, so I think if they can get that going again here, they're going to be really, really stingy in this game, and potentially beat Alabama here on the road. So this is going to be an awesome game to watch, and I'm excited to see how Pavia really puts the thing together. And then our last game here around the country is number 9 Texas. They face Florida here. Texas is 3-1 and Florida's 1-3. This one's in Gainesville, and this is going to be a really, really fun matchup, especially with the Arch Manning led offense that has been plagued with penalties and undisciplined at times, but they really have an opportunity here to go up against DJ Lagway and the Florida Gators, and kind of get things flipped and going in a different direction. While they are 3-1 overall, there's been a lot left to be desired in terms of the offense and what fans potentially think of Arch Manning. So this is an opportunity for Steve Sarkisian and the team to really gain some momentum here, heading into the close to the second half of the season here. And I'm just going to be really, really intrigued to see this quarterback matchup between DJ Lagway and Arch Manning here. And then finishing up with our Pacific Northwest Saturday games here. 0-5 Oregon State heads to Boone, North Carolina to take on 2-2 App State here. And the Mountaineers of App State have really been one of the best running attacks in football to start. Running back Rashad DeBinion has over 500 rushing yards, and he's good for 8th in the FBS in total rushing. And he's just been electric this year. So it'll be really interesting to see how an Oregon State team that traditionally prides himself in defense, how they can respond to one of the best running backs in college football. So I think this is a unique challenge on the road for Trent Bray to get his defense in order and get things figured out. Offensively for Oregon State, they've just been putting up 17 points per game. And it's really going to be unique to see how they can respond and put up some points in a hostile road environment in Appalachian State there in Boone, North Carolina. This really is a huge game for Trent Bray. I think he really needs to win this one to potentially keep his fortunes with Oregon State going forward, because an 0-6 season is just no matter how you look at it, it's not a good look. So Oregon State needs to play well here in North Carolina. And then looking Maryland 4-0, in Washington 3-1 square off Saturday in a Big Ten matchup here. The Terrapins have had a strong start behind Malik Washington, thrown for over 1,000 yards, 1 pick. The defense ranks 7th nationally in scoring, just giving up 10.8 points a game. And then, you flip the script and look at the Washington Huskies, and they have one of the most explosive offenses in the country, averaging over 460 yards a game and 43 points per game. Dual threat quarterback Damon Williams Jr. has just been electric, and then bowling ball running back Jonah Coleman has been electric as well, who has already's got 9 rushing touchdowns. So I'm really excited to see those two in action against this Maryland team that has been really solid defensively. So it's going to be a battle of the turnovers here as well, where they've been very disciplined offensively, but defensively have been great at forcing turnovers. So that'll be an interesting point to watch, and I think this will be a great opportunity for the Huskies to bounce back after a tough loss at Ohio State, or tough loss against Ohio State, sorry. And this will just be a really great Big Ten matchup, and will have some major implications towards the Big Ten standings as the season winds down. And then finishing up here, we've got number 21 Notre Dame. They head back home, and they'll square off against and be heavy favorites against the Boise State Broncos. So Notre Dame at 2-2 and Boise State at 3-1 to start the year. The Fighting Irish have one of the best offenses in the country. They average nearly 480 yards and 44 points per game behind quarterback CJ Carr. He's already thrown 9 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, and then of course the straw that stirs the drink, Jeremiah Love, the running back, who has just been one of the nation's best players in the past couple years. They'll look to get him going here at home. Boise State, had an early loss to South Florida, and they've definitely responded since then. Dylan Riley, the running back, averages over 220 rushing yards per game, as a unit. And so that Boise State unit, 220 rushing yards per game as a running back tandem is great, and Riley is driving that unit. And both teams is efficient on third down there. Notre Dame's one of the best defenses, or one of the best in the nation at converting inside the 20. And Boise State's defense is yet to stop an opponent in the red zone, which is going to be really interesting to watch. The Irish really dominated Arkansas last week, and they're obviously going to be looking to continue that. And the Broncos played the App State Mountaineers, who we just talked about, and dominated them as well at home. So this is going to be, I think, a battle of the ground games with Dylan Riley and Jeremiah Love, and this is just going to be a unique matchup to watch there in South Bend. And then looking at Oregon and Washington State, they both have a bye this week, and they both return to action on Saturday, October 11th, where Washington State will travel to Oxford, Mississippi, and take on Lane Kiffin and the number 4 Ole Miss Rebels. So that'll be a really interesting game to see how Washington State fares against one of the nation's best. And then Oregon takes on number 8 Indiana, current number 8 Indiana, in Autzen next Saturday. So 2 good matchups for both of those teams next week, and a bye this week.